What if I told you there's a type of man a woman can never forget, not because he said the right words, not because he tried harder than the rest, but because she could never quite figure him out. He didn't collapse to please her. He didn't puff up to impress her. He stood in the center of himself, calm, sharp, and quietly untouchable. See, no one talks about this, but deep down, it's not kindness that unnerves a woman. It's the inability to control a man emotionally, the kind of man who knows exactly how he feels, exactly why he feels it, and never allows anyone, not even her, to use that against him. A man who doesn't flinch when provoked, doesn't beg when ghosted, and doesn't need to raise his voice to make her feel his presence. This man doesn't play the game to win her. He plays it because he understands it better than she does. He doesn't react emotionally. He responds strategically. He doesn't chase clarity, he embodies it. And when he moves, it's not from need or impulse, it's from inner alignment. That's emotional intelligence. And when it's wrapped in masculine stillness, it becomes dangerous because now he can't be manipulated, distracted, or controlled. He becomes the rarest kind of man, the one she remembers, even in the arms of someone else. Number 1, the fire behind her silence. The mindset that attracts without chasing. When the storm of uncertainty hits, when she pulls back, replies slowly, or says she's not sure what she wants, most men panic. They chase, they explain, they try harder. But what if, instead of chasing, you became the calm mountain she looks up to in the storm? What if her silence wasn't a rejection, but an opportunity to rise? This is not about tricks. It's about mastering the inner frame, the mindset that no longer begs, but silently attracts. This is the starting point of Stoic attraction, power without pursuit. Machiavelli wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." But for men of depth, the lesson is not about fear, it's about perception. Women chase not the man who performs for their attention, but the one who lives as if her presence is a privilege, not a need. He is rooted in purpose, unmoved by delay, focused inward, not outward. When you become this man, you stop trying to convince anyone of your worth. You become aware that chasing comes from fear of loss, that over-explaining is insecurity disguised as clarity, that availability without boundaries is desperation in a silk robe. And the moment you stop needing her to choose you, is the moment she starts wondering why you've stopped waiting. This isn't about coldness or manipulation, it's about presence. It's about learning the most powerful lesson Stoicism teaches. You are not entitled to outcomes, only mastery over your response. So next time she goes silent, don't ask, "How do I get her back?" Ask instead, "What part of me needed her to stay?" That's where power begins. Number 2, when you build value, she comes closer, not because you chase, but because you lead. Let's make one truth clear. The moment you chase a woman, you disqualify yourself from being the prize. It's harsh, but psychologically accurate. Women, whether consciously or instinctually, are drawn not to the man who gives all his attention freely, but to the man whose attention must be earned. In the marketplace of desire, what is scarce becomes valuable, and what is too available loses its appeal. This is where most men lose the game before it even begins. They think love is about proving their worth, texting often, complimenting more, being emotionally available on demand. But that's not love, it's performance. And performance, no matter how well executed, signals neediness if it's not backed by a life of value. Now imagine another man. He's not cold or manipulative. He simply lives with purpose. He hits the gym 4 days a week. He's building a business. He doesn't wait by the phone because he's too busy building something that feeds his soul. When he replies, he does so with clarity, not instantly, but with presence. And when he's with her, he listens, not to impress, but to understand. This man doesn't say, "Pick me." He lives in a way that says, "I already chose myself." That's what makes him magnetic, because women don't chase chaos, they chase centeredness. When you embody that, They move toward you without even realizing why. Machiavelli once said that perception is more powerful than reality, and in dating, this is crucial. The man who appears to have value, even if not a billionaire, commands attention simply because his energy doesn't need it. His time is rare, his attention precise, and his presence unbothered. This is also where Stoicism enters powerfully. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Your worth is in your own mind." A Stoic man does not broadcast value, he builds it quietly, consistently, and with purpose. He doesn't chase because he is the destination. And from a Jungian lens, this is integration of the shadow. The needy boy who craved validation becomes the man who validates himself through action, not approval. So how do you apply this today? Stop mirroring her pace and start setting your own. If she takes hours to reply, mirror that distance, not out of spite, but out of standard. Dedicate one uninterrupted hour each day to a goal that makes you proud. It could be physical, creative, financial, but let it be something that re-centers your focus inward. The next time you feel the urge to reach out, just to feel noticed, pause. Ask yourself, would the man I admire chase someone who hasn't earned his attention? The shift is subtle but seismic, because when you stop giving your energy cheaply, you force her to evaluate its worth. And that is when she starts chasing, not the man who begged for a chance, but the one who gave her the privilege of wondering what his silence meant. Now, comment below, I built my value and now they come to me. Number 3, mystery creates desire, why she wants what she doesn't fully know. If certainty breeds comfort, then mystery breeds desire. One of the most overlooked truths in the psychology of attraction is this: women aren't drawn to everything they know, they're drawn to what they don't. In a world saturated with oversharing and instant access, the man who holds something back becomes magnetic by contrast. Modern dating has become a flood of premature vulnerability. On first dates, men unload their entire life story, childhood traumas, past relationships, career goals, emotional wounds. The intention is honest, I want her to know the real me. But the result? Predictability. And predictability kills attraction. When a man gives away everything too soon, he leaves no room for imagination. Desire is not built on certainty, it's built on curiosity. And curiosity requires gap space for her mind to wander, to wonder, to yearn. A man who reveals himself like chapters of a novel one layer at a time engages a woman emotionally by keeping the story alive. Machiavelli wrote, "A man should conceal his intentions, not as a tool of manipulation, but of power. Power lies in what you choose not to say." And Stoic philosophy affirms this restraint. Seneca advised, "Speak only when it improves the silence." A Stoic man doesn't rush to be known. He lets the world earn pieces of him. From a Jungian lens, this is the art of holding back the anima, the inner mystery that compels others to chase the unknown in you. It's not about being cold, it's about being intentional. So how do you put this into action? Limit your disclosures on any given interaction. Reveal just one thing that feels personal, but withhold the rest. When she asks, "Tell me more," say with a smile, "That's a story for another time." That simple pause creates an emotional echo. Be unpredictable, but grounded. One day you might plan a spontaneous coffee meetup. The next, you disappear for hours to focus on your goals. This isn't hot and cold, it's depth. She doesn't know what version of you she'll get, and that excites her. Mute your personal broadcasting. In an age where men post every gym selfie, playlist, and mood update online, the man who stays silent becomes a riddle. A man with a private world becomes a man worth exploring. Let's be clear, mystery isn't aloofness. It's not coldness, it's emotional discipline. The most attractive men are not unreadable, they're selectively readable. They don't offer the entire map. They offer a trail and let her decide if she's willing to follow. Why does this matter? Because mystery activates the part of her psyche that wants to discover, to decode, to pursue. And when she has to work for understanding you, her investment grows. She starts thinking about you when you're not around, replaying your words, trying to fill in the gaps. That's not manipulation, that's human psychology. And women chase what stimulates their imagination. So the next time you're tempted to lay it all out there, ask, is this disclosure deepening connection or killing intrigue? Share your values, share your laughter, but save your soul for someone who's earned the key. Because the man who is a little harder to know is a lot harder to forget. Now, speak out and comment below. I let curiosity do the chasing. Number 4, emotional mastery, the magnetic power of staying calm. She cancels a date last minute, doesn't text back for hours, flirts with a guy in front of you. Every part of your ego wants to react to prove you're not to be disrespected, to demand an answer, to protect your pride. But here's the paradox. The moment you emotionally react, you lose. True power in attraction doesn't lie in control over others. It lies in control over yourself. Emotional overreactions, jealousy, anxiety, resentment signal instability, and instability is the fastest way to erode respect. The Stoics knew this well. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." In relationships, most of what hurts you is your interpretation, not the event itself. In the dance of male-female dynamics, women subconsciously test a man's emotional core. It's not calculated, it's instinctual. If a man can be shaken by a delayed response, a sarcastic joke, or an ambiguous flirtation, it tells her he lacks internal grounding. He becomes a leaf in the wind tossed around by her moods, her attention, her silence. But the man who stays calm, who remains stoic, signals something entirely different. He becomes a pillar, unmoving, present, a safe harbor in emotional chaos. Here's why calmness is so attractive. It demonstrates self-trust. A man who doesn't panic when things feel uncertain trusts his worth. He doesn't chase reassurance because he already has inner validation. It reframes tension into mystery. When you don't over-explain or react, your silence becomes intriguing. Why isn't he upset? Why didn't he demand an answer? Her curiosity grows. It commands respect. Emotional control earns trust. It's the mark of a man who can lead, who doesn't crumble under pressure, a quality women subconsciously admire. Let's anchor this with a real-world example. 2 men are dating the same woman. She texts both, then disappears for 12 hours. The first guy panics, sends a triple text, "Everything okay? Did I do something wrong?" The second man sees the delay, puts his phone down, goes for a workout, then replies casually, "Busy day, huh? No accusation, no neediness." Who becomes more attractive? The second man, every time. Now, this doesn't mean you suppress your feelings. Stoicism isn't about numbing emotion, it's about mastering it. It's about choosing your response, not reacting from impulse. Jung would call this integrating your shadow learning, to sit with discomfort without letting it dominate your actions. Here's how to implement this emotional mastery. The pause rule. Before responding to anything emotionally charged, breathe for 60 seconds. Let the initial wave pass. You'll often realize your response doesn't need to be defensive, it can be grounded and clear. Reframe the event instead of, "She disrespected me." Try, "This is a test of how much I control myself." Make every disruption a training ground for composure. Detach from outcome. Don't text to get a specific response. Don't show up just to be validated. Give because it aligns with your character, not because you're addicted to reaction. When you walk through life grounded in calm, you become like a mountain in a storm, unshaken, stoic, and that presence quiet, composed, and unwavering is what turns heads. Not noise, not effort, not begging, but stillness. Because women aren't just looking for excitement, they're looking for certainty inside unpredictability. And the man who can stay calm when others lose themselves, he becomes unforgettable. Now comment below, "I master my emotions. They do not master me." Number 5. Respect isn't requested. It's commanded by boundaries. There's a moment every man faces in dating, a subtle, almost imperceptible test. She teases you publicly in a way that feels off. She flirts with someone else to see how you react. She makes light of your opinion, cuts off your sentence, or forgets your plans again. Most men laugh it off, some get angry, but very few realize what's really happening. She's not trying to be cruel. She's unconsciously searching for something. A man who commands respect without raising his voice. Attraction without respect is hollow, and the hard truth is, if you don't set boundaries early, you silently teach others how to treat you. The moment you tolerate micro-disrespect, you become less magnetic not because you're weak, but because you signal that your self-worth is negotiable. This is where Stoicism and Machiavellian awareness align with precision. A Stoic man doesn't react impulsively, but neither does he remain passive. He acts when the moment calls for it, not to punish, but to lead. Machiavelli once wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved." If you cannot be both, translate that. It's better to be respected than liked, especially in relationships. Let's clarify something. Respect isn't about dominance, it's about self-definition. Boundaries are not walls to shut others out, they are mirrors, reflecting how deeply you value yourself. Picture two scenarios. A man gets teased about his career in front of her friends. He laughs nervously, shrugs, and makes a self-deprecating joke. The energy drops. She senses his discomfort, but also his unwillingness to assert himself. Another man, when teased the same way, smiles calmly and says, "That's not really something I joke about," then moves the conversation elsewhere. No anger, no drama, just clarity. Guess who earns more respect not only from her, but from everyone in the room? Respect begins the moment you show what you won't tolerate, not with aggression, but with principle. And here's the irony. When you're unafraid to walk away from disrespect, you rarely have to. Practical tools to apply. Define your lines. Choose one or two non-negotiables. It could be punctuality, honesty, or public ridicule. If someone crosses them, call it out gently but firmly. I value my time, and I expect that from people I spend it with. Enforce without explanation. You don't need to justify your standards. You simply state them and act accordingly. If she cancels on you last minute twice, say, "I prefer plans that are respected," then pull back your availability. Consistency builds credibility. Setting boundaries once is easy. Upholding them consistently is what separates grounded men from fragile ones. From a Jungian lens, this is the moment the nice guy sheds his passive persona and integrates his inner king, the archetype of order, structure, and sovereign self-worth. He becomes someone who isn't afraid to disappoint others in order to stay loyal to himself. In dating, this shift is everything. A man without boundaries is like a castle with open gates. Sure, people can enter freely, but they won't respect the space. They'll trample the garden, leave messes, and never ask for permission. But close the gates just enough, and suddenly, your presence becomes earned. Your time becomes rare. Your energy becomes a privilege. Respect isn't a demand. It's a side effect of self-respect. And once a woman sees that you hold yourself to a standard, she either rises to meet it or fades away, and both outcomes serve you. Now, comment below. I set the standard. I am the standard. Number 6. Protect your freedom. Stay sovereign. There's a gravity to a man who moves with purpose. You feel it when he walks into a room, not rushing, not explaining. He knows where he's going. And if you want to walk beside him, you must match his stride. That's sovereignty. And in the context of attraction, nothing is more magnetic. Modern dating often whispers the same toxic message. If you love her, drop everything. Cancel your workout. Abandon your goals. Put her first, always. But this is not love, it's sacrifice without clarity. It's the erosion of your identity under the guise of romance. A sovereign man doesn't orbit a woman's world. He builds his own world and invites her in. This rule isn't about being selfish, it's about remembering who you are before you meet her, and never losing that foundation after she enters your life. A man's mission, whether it's building a business, pursuing excellence, or mastering his craft is not a distraction from love. It's the very thing that makes love worth giving. From a Stoic perspective, Marcus Aurelius put it simply, your mind is your kingdom. You rule your schedule, you dictate your focus, you guard your peace like a fortress, because you know that once you lose it, no one gives it back. Let's break this down. When a woman sees that you won't break your routine or abandon your goals just to please her, she feels one of two things. Triggered because she can't control you, intrigued because she's never met a man who values himself more than her validation. Either way, her emotional response tells you everything. In practical terms, this looks like prioritizing your time. If you plan to hit the gym, study, or build something on a Saturday morning, and she asks to meet, you don't drop everything. You say, I've got a commitment I'm focused on, but I'd love to see you after. Maintaining your rhythm, whether you're seeing her for 1 week or 1 year, your habits don't dissolve. Your morning routine, your learning time, your weekly goals, they continue. Not because you're rigid, but because you're rooted. Inviting, not chasing. When she wants to spend time, you fold her into your rhythm. I'm going to check out this gallery Saturday, join me if you'd like. You don't ask, when are you free, and adapt your life to her calendar. This subtle shift changes everything. You no longer chase connection, you create a current that draws people in. And only the ones aligned with your frequency will stay. From Jungian psychology, this is individuation in motion. You are no longer looking for a woman to complete you. You are whole, and you are choosing to share that wholeness. You're not building a life around someone. You're building a life so solid that the right person becomes a complement, not a center. Let's be real. A man who abandons himself to please others becomes forgettable. A man who guards his sovereignty becomes unforgettable. He's the one she thinks about at night, not because he was cold, but because he was rooted, not because he withheld attention, but because his attention had weight. So how do you cultivate this? Schedule mission time, at least 2 hours weekly where you build something that matters to you. A side business, a body, a book, anything that plants your flag deeper into who you are. Filter distractions. When you feel tempted to drop a goal for temporary pleasure, pause. Ask, is this aligned with my path or pulling me off course? Speak your standard. When someone asks for more time than you can give, say, I'm focused on something right now. Let's find a time that works within that. Not apologetic, not rude, just clear. Because here's the truth. The man who leads his own life invites others to follow. The man who follows others loses himself. Now, speak out and comment below. I protect my freedom, and that makes me unforgettable. Number 7. Be the prize. A Stoic conclusion to the game of attraction. In the end, the game was never about tricks, techniques, or text message timing. It was about how you carry yourself in a world that constantly begs you to bend, to break, to beg for attention. But a Stoic doesn't beg. He builds, he embodies, he becomes. Attraction isn't something you force, it's something you radiate. When you've cultivated a life worth sharing, when you become the prize, everything changes. You stop chasing, you stop proving, and ironically, that's when they start noticing. Why? Because you flipped the script. You no longer ask, how do I make her like me? Instead, you ask, is she aligned with what I've built? That one shift from external validation to internal direction transforms you. Being the prize means you're not the man who rushes to reply, who panics when she pulls away, or who performs kindness like a transaction. You are not for sale. You are not for rent. You are earned, respected, and remembered. This isn't arrogance. It's centeredness. It's living with such clarity and calm that people feel safer just by being near you. Let's revisit what this video laid out and why each step matters. You built your value first, not by flashing wealth or reciting affirmations, but by dedicating your time to something bigger than desire, a mission, a vision, a discipline that gives you gravity. You mastered silence and mystery. Instead of pouring everything out like cheap wine, you let people earn your story. You became a slow reveal, not a predictable script. You responded with composure. When tested, You didn't react, you reflected. You let her see that no woman, no delay, no rejection could steal your center. You enforced your limits with quiet firmness. You showed that your time has weight, your energy has boundaries, and your heart is not a playground for those who don't value it. You lived sovereign. Your life was already full. You didn't need her to complete you. You simply allowed her to join what was already beautiful and in motion. And now, because of all that, you're the prize. Not in a flashy, boastful way, but in the way mountains are the prize for climbers. The way fire is the prize for the cold. You are still, and that stillness becomes the flame. Jung called this individuation the process of becoming a whole. Integrated man. Plato called it justice in the soul, a harmony of reason, spirit, and desire. The Stoics called it virtue, living in alignment with nature and with truth. You don't win attraction by becoming someone else. You win it by finally becoming yourself, undiluted, unmoved, and undistracted. What does this mean practically? You spend 1 hour every day mastering a craft, building something no one can take from you. You share only enough to invite curiosity, leaving room for others to explore your depths over time. You practice response over reaction, especially when you're tested, knowing that silence, not shouting, shows strength. You protect your boundaries like sacred ground, knowing that respect is never begged, it is commanded through presence. You schedule weekly sovereignty time where you touch your purpose, breathe your vision, and remember who the hell you are when no one is watching. And when love does arrive, because it will, it won't be because you hunted it. It'll be because someone finally saw the flame you built in silence and said, I want to be near that. You won't chase, you'll choose. You won't beg, you'll discern. You won't lose yourself. You'll share yourself intact, whole and unshakable. That is what it means to be the prize. Now speak out and comment below. I don't chase, I attract, because I am the prize. There's a kind of man the world quietly learns to respect, not because he speaks loudly, but because he rarely needs to. He watches more than he reacts. He listens not to reply, but to truly understand. His peace isn't something he flaunts, it's something he protects like a sacred space, shared only with those who've earned the right to be there. You don't need to be perfect to become that man. You need something rarer: discipline in chaos, patience in pressure, and a purpose deeper than validation. While others seek attention, you seek alignment. While they speak to be seen, you build in silence. You refine your words, sharpen your values, and master your energy, not to impress, but to embody clarity. Because when a man fully owns himself, he doesn't just rise quietly, he begins to command the room without asking for it. So let the world adjust to your presence. Don't shrink, don't perform, just hold your ground and grow deeper. If this spoke to something inside you, don't leave it in your head. Write a comment, even just a word. It grounds your growth and might awaken someone else who needs it. Hit like if this resonated, share it with someone you believe is becoming that man. And remember, you don't need more noise, only more clarity. Let's build minds that don't break,